Hi, everyone. This is Dylan Kane with DATIS. I'd like to start by thanking you for stopping by our booth and taking some time to learn about DATIS and about our solution. We're really happy to be a part of RCPA and to be a part of this virtual conference, and looking forward to sharing a little bit about who we are and what we do. On that note, just want to kick us off by talking a little bit about who DATIS is and our purpose. DATIS is an HR and payroll software provider, and we're unique in that we focus on the health and human services space and on nonprofit organizations. What you see here are some of those different verticals that we focus on, our main being behavioral health organizations, rehabilitation centers, and providers, as well as some others such as child and family services, residential, IDD and autism, and other human services agencies. A little bit more about us. Datis has been in business for about 25 years, and we have spent that time, again, very focused on the health and human services and nonprofit space. We offer a completely unified HR and payroll platform that really encompasses the entire employee lifecycle. And it's a truly unified solution in that it's one single database, it's one single code base. So it's not a collection of modules. We haven't bought or acquired other component softwares and pieced them together with integrations. It's one truly unified system that allows for flawless and seamless transfer of data between different parts. E3 is the name of our software that we'll be talking about a little bit today, and that stands for Empower, Engage, and Evolve. We help empower employees, engage workforce, and evolve your organization. And so our purpose, our mission statement is building better software to support the missions of organizations that impact lives for social good. So we're really on a mission to help our clients achieve their missions and better serve their client base. What we'll talk about today revolves around some research that we've done. Twice a year, Datis conducts some proprietary research where we survey executives in the health and human services space. And we ask them about what some of their main priorities are for the year and what some of their main focuses are when it comes to workforce management in particular. And the top three, which we've seen recurring over the past couple years, are recruiting and retention, financial sustainability, and operational efficiency. So these are from our most recent survey, but again, we have seen these as recurring themes throughout the past few years. And this will really give us our focus today for how Datis fits into the picture, why we do what we do, and how we help organizations in this industry. Along those lines of those top priorities, we're going to talk about today how we help organizations, one, increase employee lifetime value, and we'll talk about what that is in a moment. We'll also talk about how we help organizations optimize operational efficiency. And lastly, how we help organizations and provide organizations with a position control based solution that helps them ensure financial sustainability. All right, we'll start by talking a little bit about that first aspect, which is the employee lifetime value. Before we talk about employee lifetime value, want to talk about something that is always in the forefront of the minds of executives in this industry, which is turnover. So we find that the industry average turnover rate somewhere between 20 to 30%, varying a little bit between organizations. But we do know that turnover is extremely costly. Some estimates say about 1.5 times the employee's salary is what it costs to lose an employee. If you do some math on how many employees you have in your organization at your turnover rate times that average salary, some of those numbers can be really staggering as far as how much turnover is costing your organization. So some of that turnover is unavoidable. There's a lot of turnover that occurs because of passion fatigue and burnout. We recognize that a lot of your employees are doing some jobs that are very difficult and very taxing physically and emotionally, and so we can't avoid all turnover, but we want to focus on how we can help increase employee lifetime value. So what is that? Employee lifetime value measures how much an employee produces or contributes to your organization and the fulfillment of your mission during their time as an employee. So you'll notice this graph is measuring output on the y-axis and time on the x-axis. So together, these data points show us productivity, essentially. How much did you produce and how long did it take you to produce it? So when an employee walks into the door on day one, they have a negative output, meaning they're consuming more resources than they're producing. So if you think of your onboarding process and how much time and resources it takes to get a new employee on board, trained, and up to speed, you'll see that that output begins in the negative. So eventually, the employee will be fully contributing, which is that next data point that you see on the screen there. And they will have achieved that independence, the ability to produce without consuming so many resources, and now they have a positive output. Then hopefully the employee will reach his or her maximum potential, where they've hit their groove, they've mastered their role, and they're most productive in producing their best work. So then eventually, after some time, most employees, particularly individual contributors, will decide to leave the organization. At which point their productivity and often the quality of their work will decrease and fall until their last day at your organization. So that's the employee lifetime value, the value that employees bring to your organization. So how do we increase employee lifetime value? That becomes the overall overarching question. Well, in order to increase employee lifetime value, we have to consider several things. One, how can we decrease the time it takes for employees to become productive and to reach a higher level of productivity, right? So that's that first line there where we're getting out of the negative into the positive. So you'll notice on this orange line here, we've decreased the amount of time that takes and we've increased their output. Two, how can we better develop their skills to help them reach their absolute maximum potential and do their best work? So how can we take that original, what you see on the blue line, how can we take that original maximum potential and increase that potential and help them reach that maximum potential faster and raise that overall maximum potential? And then lastly, the other key question, right, goes to retention. How do we get employees to stay at our organization for longer? So you'll notice this orange line represents that time that an employee is at the organization and contributing. So this is one of our main focuses at DATIS, is helping our clients increase employee lifetime value by providing them the tools that they need to help them onboard employees faster and more easily so they can start producing sooner, by empowering employees and managers with performance management and goal setting tools so that employees can reach that maximum potential point, and by increasing retention by providing employee engagement, feedback, communication tools to help keep employees at the organization longer. So those are where DATIS comes in. So we have our onboarding tools that help get employees ramped up quicker and producing faster. We have those performance management and goal setting tools that help that two-way communication between employees and managers to help employees reach their maximum potential. And then once they're at their maximum potential, we have employee engagement, feedback, and communication tools that help retain employees and keep employees at your organization longer. So what do some of those tools look like? We've got some previews here for you, but one of those is interactive company news. So helping to keep employees engaged and in the know about what's going on at the organization. So we have very interactive news stories that our clients can post to their company news page. Employees can interact with that content, whether that's pictures, articles, videos, they can like and comment to help foster that sense of engagement. We have peer-to-peer recognition where employees can recognize each other for that, constant communication and recognizing a job well done or a shout out or a high five on something. So that can be peer-to-peer recognition. It can be manager to employee, supervisor, and really we can't overstate the value that it brings to have, say someone in a leadership position, one of your administrators, one of your leaders comment to an employee on, the fact that they've done a great job or they've gone above and beyond. That really means a lot to employees, and again, fosters that sense of belonging, that sense of purpose, and helps increase ultimately retention at your organization. And then some final examples on this topic are performance management, check-ins, goal tracking. So these are all tools that we can use to help organizations retain staff by providing a means and a medium for employees to communicate concerns, communicate how their week's going, communicate any barriers that they're having to performing at their full potential. Also, giving managers an opportunity to give constant feedback to employees. So, to provide feedback, to provide guidance, to provide coaching, to again help them reach that maximum potential. One of the things that we've done is, and what our clients have done, is make those feedback channels much more frequent. So instead of just doing a quarterly review or an annual review, we want to make those shorter and make them more frequent. So just constant feedback, weekly reviews, bi-weekly reviews, to really help again foster that engagement, foster that communication, those feedback loops, so that there's constant two-way communication going on. Second, we're going to move into optimizing operations. So first, we'll talk about labor costs and the cost of manual processes. So again, if you want to estimate your labor costs, we do have a labor cost calculator on our site. So you'll see the URL there as well. But essentially, what we're looking at is the number of hours that we've spent on manual data entry, adjustments, calculations. How many hours are you spending a month? Multiplying that by your hourly rate for those staff members who are performing those manual adjustments or data entry, and you get your annual labor costs. So we've got some examples there, but how can we help automate those processes to reduce our labor cost? So one way, as I alluded in the beginning, is by using a truly unified solution. So our solution is represented on the right, and on the left, you see what a lot of organizations come from, a situation a lot of organizations come from. They're using several different systems for things like, they've got one system for recruiting, one system for time and attendance. They're processing payroll using a different system. They've got performance appraisals or supervisions that they're doing on paper or manually. You've got a different system, or you're doing documentation manually using paper processes. So the amount of work it takes to combine that information for reporting purposes, or the amount of time it takes to, when an employee makes an adjustment to their benefits, to adjust their deduction amounts on the payroll side, that creates those manual processes and those labor costs. So what we do is we unify all those processes in one single solution, one single hire to retire, hire to fire solution that encompasses the entire employee life cycle. So that's the first point there on how we optimize operational efficiency. Another main piece, which we'll talk about in more depth, is position control. Position control allows you to build, track, and report on your organization by position rather than by employee. And one of the things that does in terms of efficiency is it allows for inheritable attributes. So if you think about all those different attributes or position details that you're used to recoding or rekeying for each new employee that comes on board, or anytime you have somebody move throughout the organization into a different position, all those different attributes, the job code, the FLSA status, employment status, the FTE, the corporate level, the workflow approvals that position's responsible for, who that position reports to, what's budgeted for the position, what credentials are needed for the position. With position control, all of those attributes are coded to the position, and as employees are placed in positions, they simply inherit the attributes of the positions that they occupy. So it helps, again, eliminate the need to rekey or recode all those different attributes. The other aspect as well in terms of optimizing operational efficiency goes along with our focus on the industry. So what we've found working in this industry for so long is that this industry rather, organizations in this industry are uniquely complex. They've got a lot of complexities, especially around time and attendance needs, labor costing and labor allocations, payroll complexities and complex payroll calculations. And oftentimes organizations that are using some of those more traditional kind of one size fits all uh, HR and payroll providers that work in all different industries, they're having to create a lot of workarounds. So they're having to make a lot of manual adjustments to labor costs and payroll calculations in order to get that correct. So having focused on this industry for so long, we have built our solutions specifically to address those complexities. So, we're used to, and it's the norm for us, for our clients to have employees that work multiple different jobs across multiple different programs or cost centers, having to track their time and allocate their time to those different programs or cost centers and be able to report back to your funders in a very granular way. We know that that is of utmost importance, protecting your revenue streams. So our system helps automate those processes and gives a lot of capabilities that help streamline those processes, reduce the administrative burden, and increase accuracy. So we'll talk a little bit more about position control and what that is. So position control, again, allows you to structure your organization by position. So that does several things. It gives more visibility. It helps you control staffing process and costs. It helps interdepartmental and cross-departmental communication between HR, finance, IT, operations. So we'll talk about some of those advantages now. And so the first that I already mentioned is efficiency and compliance. So when we talk about inheritable attributes, those position details that are coded to the position and inherited by the employee. The other piece of that is compliance. So I mentioned the credential requirements that are needed for a position are coded to the position. So in that sense, we're making sure that all employees, if they're occupying a position, they need to satisfy the credential requirements of that position. So it helps us ensure that we have all the needed trainings and certifications and licensure. Secondly, it helps increase visibility. So position control gives you visibility into things like reporting on vacant positions and the status of those vacant positions, how long it's taking you to fill positions, daily lost revenue of vacant positions. From a finance standpoint, it helps you budget by position independent from employees. So you can budget by position and budget by FTE so that you can compare what's budgeted for this position versus what I'm actually paying the employee that occupies that position. Also helps you control costs. So position control helps control costs specifically in staffing processes by eliminating overhiring or rogue hiring. So what I mean by that is position control helps establish, based on your business processes, workflows to ensure that every single position is budgeted for and approved to fill before we can actually place an employee in that position. So all positions need to obtain the correct approvals and go through those approval processes and make sure that we're satisfying budget before they are approved to fill and before we hire and place an employee in those positions. And lastly, it helps, again, align HR and finance by showing what's budgeted for a position, how much can I offer this candidate that I want to hire for this position and place in this position, what's available in terms of budget, identifying variances between budgets and actuals and assignments. So really helping align and unify efforts between HR and finance. So these are some of those questions, some of which I've already covered today on what questions and what visibility does position control give us. So things like, what are my payroll or labor costs per program, per job code, per department? How many vacant positions do I have, again, per program, per location, per job code, per department, per cost center? What is the daily lost revenue of my vacant positions? What did this position actually cost this year? Not what did we pay the employee, but what did the position actually cost us this year? What's budgeted for the position? What variance do we have? Do we need another employee in this program, or do we need another position in this program? So helping to answer some of those questions, that's where position control comes into play. And so here are some examples of what those what some of those stats and what some of those reports look like, even within our mobile app. We have those available. So things like turnover rates, breaking down turnover, so you can gain insights into where and when and how turnover is occurring and address those areas. So you can budget by position and budget by FTE, like I've mentioned. And so you can help prioritize your recruiting efforts, comparing, how many applicants per hire do we need versus how many applicants do we currently have in the system. So those are all some of the data points that position control helps give organizations. So that summarizes what I wanted to share with you all today. Again, I want to thank you all for stopping by, and thank you all for taking a look at our system and learning a little bit more about DATIS and our E3 solution. I'm always happy to talk in more depth and dive into the product, talk about any specific challenges you might have, and just quickly discuss whether or not DATIS might be able to help you with some of those challenges and address those challenges. So you'll see my email and number on the screen there. Please feel free to reach out at any time. And I look forward to further interacting with you all throughout the conference. Thanks so much.